The royal palace of the Vayari Empire was brighter than 100 suns. Golden walls rose high, decorated with carvings of alien heroes and long-forgotten battles. 1,000 candles floated in the air, shining above the long marble hall. Red banners hung from the ceiling, each one marked with the royal crest of the empire. The nobles of the alien court sat in rows, their eyes glowing faintly, watching every move with cold interest. At the center of the hall stood the thrones. The Queen of the Vayari, tall and proud, rested on her golden seat. Her long crown shimmered like liquid fire, and her 4 eyes were sharp, filled with both wisdom and suspicion. Around her, the princes, princesses, and high lords of the empire leaned forward, whispering in their strange voices, and before them all, standing small but unshaken, was a single human envoy. He wore a simple black uniform with the symbol of Earth on his chest. His hands were steady, his voice calm. The Queen spoke first, her voice echoing through the vast chamber. "Human, we have heard a rumor. A claim so strange, so ridiculous, that even the stars must laugh at it. Tell us now, is it true? Is it true that your kind has no mating season?" The words rolled through the court like thunder. The nobles gasped. Some laughed in disbelief, and others leaned closer, their curiosity sharper than knives. The envoy lifted his chin. His eyes scanned the alien court. He knew that one wrong word could bring doom not only to him, but to the entire human delegation waiting outside. And yet, he spoke with calm courage. "Yes, Your Majesty," the human replied. His voice was steady, though the hall seemed to close in around him. "Humans do not have a mating season." For one long moment, silence ruled the hall. Even the floating candles seemed to freeze in the air. Then came the eruption. "Impossible," shouted a noble with emerald skin and golden robes. "Lies," hissed another, her long neck twisting like a serpent's. "This creature dares mock us," cried one of the princes, slamming his clawed hand against the armrest of his seat. The Queen raised one hand, and the hall fell quiet again, her 4 eyes fixed on the human envoy like spears. "Explain yourself," she demanded. "Every species follows the law of nature. The seasons command when life begins. Spring for the Sargari, summer for the Keth, winter for the Loran. Even we the Vayari are bound to the rhythm of the stars, and yet you claim your kind is free of it? Speak, or be punished for your trickery." The envoy felt the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing against him, but he did not break. "Your Majesty, nobles of the Vayari Empire," he said slowly, carefully choosing each word. "Humans can love and choose and create life at any time. We are not tied to seasons. We are not commanded by spring or summer or winter. Our families are built by choice, not by nature's demand." A wave of gasps and laughter moved through the court. Some nobles covered their mouths in shock, others shook their heads. The alien princes whispered to each other, their voices sharp, with doubt. "This cannot be true," said a high lord, his silver mask hiding his face. "A species without order, without limit? Chaos cannot build empires. This is a lie." The Queen leaned back on her throne, her expression unreadable. "So, humans are free of the cycle? You claim you can reproduce at will?" "Yes, Your Majesty," the envoy answered, his voice calm but firm. "That is the truth." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Then you are a danger, a species with no restraint, a species that grows without end. Perhaps this is why your people spread like wildfire across the galaxy. But tell me, envoy, if your words are true, where is the proof?" The envoy did not flinch. "The proof is in our history, our survival, our families. For thousands of years, humans have lived, thrived, and expanded. Not because of seasons, not because of nature's order, but because of our will." The Queen tilted her head slightly. Around her, the nobles broke into loud arguments. Some called for the envoy's execution, others demanded deeper study. The young prince, bold and curious, rose from his seat. His voice rang across the chamber. "If this is true," he declared, pointing at the human, "then I demand a demonstration. Let the human prove his words before the throne. The hall fell silent again. The queen's eyes glowed brighter. Slowly she nodded. So be it, she said. Her voice was calm, but the weight of her words was heavy as stone. Human, you have claimed a truth that defies the order of the universe. Very well. You will prove it. Here, before us all. The envoy felt his heart beat faster, but his face showed no fear. He bowed slightly, his voice steady. As you command, Your Majesty. And so the fate of humanity's honor now hung in the balance, under the gaze of alien royalty who could not believe what they had just heard. The great hall of the Vayari Empire had fallen into restless whispers. The claim of the human envoy spread from one noble to another like fire racing across dry grass. Everywhere voices rose in disbelief, confusion, and anger. The queen sat upon her throne, silent, watching the storm she had unleashed. Her four eyes glowed faintly in the candlelight, but her face revealed nothing. She allowed her nobles to argue, to rage, to doubt. It was their way, and their noise would reveal the true depth of their thoughts. Lies, all lies, shouted Lord Tyrax, his heavy body covered in golden scales. His voice was thick like stone grinding on stone. No species can break the chain of nature. If these humans truly breed without season, they are abominations. Their kind spreads without order. They are parasites. No, cried Lady Veora, her long silver hair flowing like liquid. Do you not see? This explains everything. Why humans multiply so quickly. Why they have colonies in every system. They are not bound by the stars. They are unstoppable. The court grew louder. The nobles divided. Some spoke of extermination. Others whispered of fear. A few, more cunning, wondered how such a trait might be used for the Empire's benefit. In the midst of this storm, the young Prince Kalor rose to his feet. His armor gleamed under the floating candles, and his voice cut through the noise. Perhaps the human does not lie, he said. His words carried both challenge and curiosity. Perhaps this is the secret of their kind, but if so, it makes them dangerous. A species that chooses when to bring life is a species that cannot be controlled. Their numbers may grow without limit. Their armies may never end. Do you not see? The humans are a threat greater than we imagined. The nobles fell quiet, uneasy at his words. For the first time, the hall seemed to feel smaller, the shadows longer. The envoy stood calm, but inside his chest his heart pounded. He could feel the weight of the Empire pressing on him. Every glance, every whisper was a blade pointed at humanity. Yet he did not break. My people are not parasites, the envoy said firmly. We are not a danger to the galaxy. We are simply free. We choose. That is our strength. The queen finally stirred. She leaned forward, her crown catching the candlelight. Her voice was soft, but it silenced the court instantly. Free, she repeated. That word is dangerous. Freedom is chaos. Freedom is rebellion. And yet, you claim it as your nature? Yes, Your Majesty, the human answered. Her eyes narrowed. For a long moment she did not speak. Then she turned her gaze to her advisors. What say you? She asked. One by one, the advisors stepped forward. High Chancellor Voran, his face hidden behind a steel mask, bowed deeply. Majesty, this cannot be allowed. A species without seasons is a species that knows no control. Already, humans spread through the stars faster than any empire can watch. If they are truly free from the laws of nature, then soon their numbers will overwhelm us. We must act now. But then the grand scholar, Lady Arena, spoke. She carried scrolls of living crystal, and her voice trembled with both fear and fascination. Majesty, she said, if the human speaks truth, then they are not a curse but a marvel. Imagine, a species that breeds not by season but by will, a species that defies the stars themselves. To understand them could unlock secrets greater than we ever dreamed. We must study them, not destroy them. The hall trembled with new whispers. Some nobles nodded eagerly at her words, others growled in anger. The division deepened. Prince Kalor stepped forward again, his voice sharp. Enough talk of studies and marvels. The human must prove his words, I demand it. If he lies, let him die. If he speaks truth, then we shall see the danger with our own eyes. The queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Her eyes burned like suns as she gazed at the envoy. You hear, my son? She said. Proof. That is what we require. The envoy felt the weight of the hall press down on him. Proof. Not words, not history. Proof, here, before alien eyes. His mind raced. What proof could he give that would satisfy such a court? Yet before he could speak, another voice rang out. It was Lady Veora, the silver-haired noble. Majesty, she said softly, do you not see the greater meaning? If humans truly are free of the seasons, then they are not bound as we are. They are not trapped in the rhythm of spring or winter. They can love, they can build, they can choose always. Perhaps this is why they never fall. Perhaps this is why no empire can erase them. The queen's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Was it fear? Was it respect? None could say. Perhaps, the queen whispered, this is why they must be tested. The nobles leaned forward, hungry for the coming trial. The air grew heavy, the candles flickering as if the palace itself knew what was about to unfold. The envoy stood tall, though inside his heart raced. He knew the truth. The test would not be fair. The test would not be simple. But he also knew that humanity's honor now stood before the throne of alien royalty. The queen raised her hand. Her voice thundered across the hall. Human, she declared, you will show us the truth, not with words, not with stories, but with proof. Before the sun sets, you will demonstrate your claim. Fail, and your kind will be judged liars. Succeed, and the galaxy will never be the same. The envoy bowed his head slightly, his voice steady despite the storm around him. As you command, Your Majesty. And with those words, the fate of mankind's secret hung in the balance, caught between alien suspicion and the dangerous hunger of royal curiosity. The royal court was silent. Again, though tension still hung in the air like a heavy chain, the queen's command echoed in every mind. Proof must be given before the sunset. The human envoy stood alone, a single figure before the endless rows of alien nobles. His heart raced, but his voice did not tremble. He knew he could not show them proof in the way they expected. No strange ritual, no quick display could convince such beings. Instead, he would give them something greater. He would give them understanding. Slowly he raised his eyes to meet the queen's 4 burning orbs. Your Majesty, he began, you asked how humans can live without seasons. You asked how we can bring children into the world without the command of nature. The answer is simple. We do not wait for the stars. We choose. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but in the great hall it rang like a bell. The nobles frowned. Some shook their heads. Others leaned forward, curious despite themselves. The envoy continued. When a Sargari waits for spring to call them to life, humans are already building. When the Loran must endure a long winter before they are ready, humans do not wait. For us, every day is a season. Every moment is a chance. We do not ask the sky for permission. Gasps rose in the court. A lord hissed, blasphemy! Another muttered, madness. Yet many listened, caught in the spell of his words. From the beginning, the envoy said, humans lived on a world that was cruel. Storms came without warning. Winters could kill. Summers could burn. If we had waited for a season, we would have perished. But we learned. We adapted. We made families when we could, not when the sky told us to. We loved when danger was close. We built homes in the middle of chaos. That is who we are. The queen's gaze did not move, but her fingers tapped against the armrest of her throne, a sign of thought. The envoy walked a few steps forward. His boots echoed on the marble floor. Our strength is not in waiting, our strength is in choosing. We choose when to fight. We choose when to love. We choose when to bring new life. That freedom is not chaos, Majesty. It is survival. The Grand Scholar Orina clutched her crystal scrolls tightly. Her eyes shone with fascination. Remarkable, she whispered. A species that bends nature itself. No wonder they endure. But the Chancellor snarled. No. This is why they are dangerous, do you not see? A species without limits, they multiply without pause, they threaten the balance of the stars. The envoy turned sharply toward him. His voice grew harder. Balance. There is no balance in the void of space. There is no mercy in war. We survived because we could not afford to wait. While other species rested, we worked. While others waited for the right moment, we made our own. That is not chaos. That is will. The words struck the court like thunder. Some nobles nodded reluctantly. Others shook their heads in denial. The Queen leaned forward. For the first time. Her voice softened. So, human. You claim that love and life for your kind are not bound by stars but by choice? Yes, Majesty, the envoy said. Love is not commanded. Families are not ordered by the sky. We decide. And because of that we survive. Because of that, we endure. For a moment the Queen's eyes seemed to dim as though she were lost in thought. Her court, however, erupted once more. Dangerous, cried one. Marvelous, whispered another. Unnatural, hissed a third. The voices clashed, echoing off the golden walls. The envoy stood calmly in the storm, his words already planted, like seeds in their minds. Prince Kalor stepped forward again, his voice sharp with challenge. Your words are clever, human, but words are not enough. You speak of survival, of choice. Yet how do we know this is not a trick? Perhaps your kind lies to hide its true nature. The Queen's gaze shifted back to the envoy. My son is right. Words alone cannot shake the foundations of the universe. If you claim humans are different, if you claim you live without the chains of the seasons, then we require more. Not just words, not just stories, something undeniable. The envoy held her gaze. He had known this moment would come. He could not show them the act itself, that would be madness. But he could give them something more powerful than proof, meaning. He bowed his head slightly. Majesty, you asked for proof. I cannot give you proof in a single moment. Humanity is proof. Our history, our survival, our spread among the stars, that is the evidence. We are here, before you, because we do not wait for the sky. If you wish to understand humans, then look at all we have built, despite the chaos of the galaxy. The court fell into uneasy silence. The Queen's eyes burned into him, searching for weakness. At last, she leaned back against her throne. You speak well, human. Too well, she said slowly. Your words carry both truth and danger. But this court is not yet satisfied. Words may move hearts, but they cannot silence doubt. Prince, Kalor's voice rang out like a blade. Then let the human prove his claim with a demonstration. Let him show us before this court what makes his species so different. If he fails, we shall know the truth. If he succeed, then perhaps we shall finally understand the secret of mankind. The nobles cheered, their voices rising like a storm, some eager, some furious, all hungry for what would come next. The envoy's face did not change, but inside he knew the trial was no longer avoidable. The Queen and her court would demand more than words. The Queen raised her hand for silence. Human, she declared, you have spoken well, but the time for speech has ended. The court demands a demonstration. Tomorrow, when the first light of our twin suns rises, you will prove your words. Fail, and humanity will be judged unworthy. The envoy bowed, his voice steady, though the storm raged around him. As you command, your majesty. And so as the candles dimmed and the nobles whispered in the shadows, the human envoy prepared for the trial that would decide not just his fate, but the honor of all mankind. The night passed slowly in the palace of the Veyari. The human envoy was given a chamber, but he found no rest. The stars outside the high windows glowed like watching eyes. Somewhere in the distance, drums echoed, the sound of the Empire preparing for the morning's trial. When the twin suns of the Vayari world rose, the great hall filled once again. Nobles crowded the marble steps. Servants lit 1,000 floating candles. The golden thrones gleamed with cruel beauty. The queen sat in silence, her 4 eyes fixed on the envoy as he was brought before the court. Around her stood the advisors, the princes, the scholars, and the lords. All waited, hungry for truth or for blood. The queen's voice thundered across the chamber. Human, you spoke of choice. You spoke of freedom from the seasons. Now you will show us proof. The eyes of the Empire will see if your kind is truth or trickery. The envoy bowed. His heart pounded, but his face was calm. I will speak what I can, Majesty. I will show what I can. At her signal, alien scientists stepped forward. They wore robes of white crystal, their hands glowing with tools of strange design. Holograms flickered in the air, showing charts, bones, and the life cycles of species across the galaxy. The first scientist hissed, "Every species is bound by cycles. Growth, rest, renewal. How can humans break this? Show us your biology." The envoy stood still as the scientists waved their scanners across him. Lights danced, machines hummed, and strange symbols filled the air. The aliens frowned. Their readings did not match the patterns of other species. Strange, one muttered. Their bodies, always ready. No cycle, no waiting. Gasps echoed through the court. The nobles leaned forward, whispering in alarm. Another scientist spoke sharply. If this is true, it is unnatural. Dangerous. The envoy answered calmly. It is not unnatural. It is human nature. We survive because we cannot wait. We create life because we choose to. But still, the queen was not satisfied. She raised one hand, silencing the hall. Science may show what is possible, but science does not show meaning. You claim your kind does not wait for the stars. Then tell us, what drives you, human? What makes you act without the command of nature? The envoy's voice grew firm. Hope, love, will. When others wait, we hope. When others rest, we build. When others fear, we fight. Our families are born not from the order of the sky, but from our hearts. That is what makes us human. For a moment, silence fell. Some nobles shifted uneasily. Others looked at him with something close to respect. But Prince Kalor, restless and proud, stepped forward. His voice cut through the hall like a blade. Fine words, human. Too fine. Words may charm fools, but they do not prove truth. If you claim your kind breeds without season, then show us. Demonstrate before this court. The hall erupted in cries. Some shouted for proof. Others laughed at the absurdity. The queen raised her hand and silence returned. Her eyes blazed as they locked on the envoy. You hear, my son? She said coldly. The court demands more than words, more than science. We demand a demonstration. The envoy stood still. Inside, his blood ran cold. He knew what they wanted, but he also knew he could not give it. To turn this into a show would insult not only himself, but all of humanity. Yet to refuse might mean death. He took a breath. His voice was calm but sharp as steel. Majesty, I will not turn humanity into a circus act. I cannot give you the proof you demand in the way you expect, but I can give you something greater. The queen tilted her head. Greater? The envoy nodded. You demand to see what makes us different? Then watch. Not with your eyes, but with your understanding. Let me tell you of humans who loved in the middle of war, of families built when the world was burning, of children born under skies filled with fire, yet growing strong. That is our demonstration. That is proof enough, the nobles murmured. Some scoffed, some leaned closer, unable to resist. The envoy's voice grew louder, steadier, filling the hall. When the great plagues came, our kind did not wait for them to pass. We still made families. When wars turned our cities to ash, still we loved, still we lived. Even in the darkest times, we did not stop. Because for us, every season is a season of life. That is humanity's truth. The Queen's eyes glowed, unreadable. Around her, the nobles were divided. Some hissed, some whispered, some even looked shaken. Prince Kalor scowled. Stories, nothing more. Where is the proof? The Queen raised, her hand again silencing him. Her gaze lingered on the envoy. Perhaps stories are proof enough, for in them I hear something I have never heard in this hall. Choice, will, a freedom that defies the stars themselves. But though her words were softer, her eyes still burned. And yet, doubt remains. Tomorrow the council will decide. Tonight the Empire will weigh your words. If you have lied, human, your fate will be sealed. If you have spoken truth. Her voice trailed off, heavy with unspoken meaning. The envoy bowed deeply. I have spoken truth, Majesty. The rest is for you to see. The candles flickered as if the palace itself held its breath. The trial was not yet over. The proof was not yet accepted. And as the envoy was led away, the fate of mankind still trembled in the balance. The palace was quiet when night fell. The torches along the marble walls burned low, and the whispers of nobles echoed through the long corridors. Outside, the twin suns had set, leaving the sky dark and heavy with stars. But inside the royal court, the Queen of the Vayari Empire sat upon her throne, her eyes unblinking, her mind deep in thought. Around her, the nobles murmured like restless birds. They had seen the human strength, his strange biology, his words of will and choice. Yet doubt clung to them like a shadow. The human envoy was led back into the hall. He stood alone beneath the high banners. His uniform was simple, but his presence carried a strange weight. He was only one man, yet he stood unafraid before an empire. The Queen's voice cut the silence. Human, this is your last chance. You spoke of survival, of choice, of families born without seasons. Yet many here remain unconvinced. If you cannot give us proof tonight, your people will be judged liars and the punishment will be death. Do you understand? The envoy bowed his head slightly. I understand, Majesty. Then speak, she commanded. Give us your answer. The envoy raised his eyes. His voice was steady, calm, but it carried across the hall like thunder. You ask for proof. You ask to see what makes us different. But humanity cannot be proven with a single act or in a single day. Humanity is a story written across thousands of years, and tonight I will tell you that story. The nobles stirred uneasily. Some scoffed. Others leaned forward, unable to resist the pull of his words. The envoy began. Long ago our world was cruel. Winters froze us. Summers burned us. Storms destroyed our homes. We should have died. Many believed we would, but we did not. We endured. In the middle of hunger and war, we still chose life. We still chose love. He stepped forward, his voice stronger now. When empires rose against us, when enemies tried to wipe us out, our families did not stop. Children were born in the ashes of ruined cities. Lovers found each other even when death was near. We did not wait for a safe season. We made life in the middle of death. That is proof of who we are. The nobles fell silent. Even the most arrogant among them lowered their heads slightly. The envoy's eyes swept across the court. You demand a demonstration? Then look at me. I stand here because 1,000 generations chose life when they should have chosen nothing. I stand here because my people never waited for the stars to tell them when to live. We chose. Always. And because of that, we spread across the galaxy. His words struck like lightning. The Grand Scholar Arina clutched her scrolls, her voice trembling. Incredible. They live by will alone. Not season, not cycle, only choice. But the Chancellor spat. Dangerous. This makes them a threat beyond measure. The Queen raised, her hand silencing them all. Her eyes burned into the envoy. So you claim this is your proof? Not an act, not a show, but your history? Your survival? Yes, Majesty, the envoy said firmly. Humanity itself is the demonstration. Our very existence is proof. The hall was still. The candles flickered, casting long shadows across the golden walls. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, the queen slowly rose to her feet. Her voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber. I see now. I see why your kind spreads across the stars while others remain bound. You are not chained to the seasons. You are not ruled by the sky. You are ruled by yourselves. That is both your strength and your danger. She stepped down from her throne, her crown blazing in the dim light. Standing before the envoy, she looked at him with something no noble had ever shown a human before: respect. You are unlike any species we have known. You cannot be controlled. You cannot be predicted. And that, more than anything, makes you feared. The nobles gasped. Some whispered in awe, others in dread. The chancellor trembled with fury, while the scholar bowed her head in wonder. The queen's eyes locked on the envoy. Your words have shaken this court. Your truth has been heard. Humanity is free of the seasons. Humanity is free of the stars. We will not call you liars. The envoy bowed deeply. Relief filled his chest, though his face remained calm. Thank you, Majesty. But the queen was not finished. Her voice grew heavy like iron. Know this, human. Today you have earned respect, but tomorrow, that respect may turn to fear. Your kind is boundless, and boundless things are dangerous. The galaxy will never forget what you have revealed tonight. She turned back to her throne, her crown catching the light of the candles. Go now. You have given your answer. The court is ended. The envoy stepped back, his heart steady. He had come to prove humanity's truth, and he had done so. But he knew the queen's words were true. Respect and fear walked side by side, and somewhere in the shadows of the court, he saw alien eyes burning with a new thought. If humans could not be stopped by nature, then perhaps they must be stopped by force. The envoy left the hall with pride in his step. Humanity had spoken. Humanity had been heard. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear. In a galaxy ruled by seasons and stars, humans would always be different. They would always choose.